this is what it is. This is the It Naturally Pretty Volume 1 Matte Luxe Transforming Eyeshadow Palette. And it comes in this kind of like mauve-y, dusty pink. And it's like a fake suede kind of thing, which does pick up dirt really fast, but it's pretty, very pretty. What's inside is even prettier. So it has a mirror on the top, which I'm not going to show on camera, and then it has these shades. And these are all matte shadows in this gold case. I should have counted them. 1, 2, 3, 14, which I actually did count. I just forgot that I counted it. And then you get this transforming shade right there. And what do I think? So I've got a couple of the shades, the warmer shades on my eyes right now. One thing that was amazing about these shadows, so if you see the line that I was able to draw around my eyes, normally when I do an eyeliner around my eyes, I actually wet the brush first for an eyeshadow. With these, I didn't wet the brush at all, which shows you how beautifully pigmented and how evenly they distribute. But I also, with a smaller brush, actually the bigger brush, but just dusted on a little bit of shadow in the corner and was able to very easily blend and shade. So they're both incredibly pigmented and also very easily blendable, which doesn't always happen. I'm going to go through them color by color, but first I'm just going to give you the overall impression, and I just dropped my plastic sheet. Overall, I was just blown away. This was actually a suggestion on another video. Someone watched the video and suggested that I get this palette, and I have to say they were absolutely right. This is a gorgeous palette. I like mattes. Part of the reason I like mattes is that I put so many shimmery things on my face. Having mattes as a base is a really good place to start because then I don't look like a glitter disco ball. But I also like mattes just because I like the way they look. These are mostly velvety, a little powdery, but in that blendable sort of a way instead of that kind of dry chalky way, which doesn't pick up color. I have not used any eyeshadow primer or really packed on the shadows, and you can still see how pigmented they are in my eyes, and I found that consistently throughout the palette. It Cosmetics is a new brand to me. I've only bought a couple of things, but they have anti-aging and all kinds of vitamins and minerals in this palette. It's supposed to help you look younger, not age fast as quickly as, I mean, all that stuff. What we have is a mix of really warm and really cool shades, and I really like the way that they did that. I think doing a really good kind of neutral, nude, brown based eyeshadow palette is about as hard right now as it's ever been because so many brands have come out with great products. Like, how do you differentiate yourself? This palette differentiates itself, first of all, by being matte mostly, and some of these have kind of a sheen to them, a sheeny matte, and matte is kind of hard to define these days with some mattes having that sheen and some being just totally flat. But because of that little sheen, some of them are actually more flattering and a little bit less harsh on the skin. This really differentiates itself. So I'm going to go through them shade by shade and tell you what I think. So the first shade right there is Sheer Joy, and I can see the light hitting it in the wrong way in the camera. And I have outdoor swatches too. It's a very creamy, smooth application. This one is a white that has a slight sheen and kind of a pink undertone to it. So this is a cooler base shade. Next to it is called Soft Light. And this right here is kind of a light taupe but with, I think, a gray undertone. It's not gonna, these light ones aren't going to show up so much on the palette, on the camera. They show up better in the outside swatches. Some of these lighter ones just never show up quite as well as I'd like under the light, artificial light. A few people complained that there were too many light shades in here for someone with a darker complexion, because before I do these I always look online to see what other reviewers have said. So this is called Warmth, and this is a medium warm brown, almost with a taupe brown. I personally get a lot of use out of the lighter shades just because I like a more natural look. To me that's actually a plus. But if you have a very dark skin tone, just be aware that some of these are lighter. Soulful Light Copper with a slight sheen. This is a gorgeous, gorgeous shade. I was wearing this a couple days ago, and I loved it. Mocha This also brown. You can see there's a slight sheen to these as much as they're mattes. And I'm going to play with that one and show you the transforming color over it. You can see it doesn't have big impact. It's a great highlighter shade too, but it does change the texture a little bit. Next, Violet. This is a kind of a beautiful gray smoky violet. Lovely shade for lining the eyes or kind of in the crease contouring. Really pretty. Midnight. A really rich matte navy blue, and you can see it's kind of like a dark grayish navy blue. The next, Swan Noir. And I had great application with this. It's just a really deep, smoky, dark black. So that was the first top line of these. Now, the next line. Now we're getting to the warmer colors. So those were mostly on the cooler spectrum. Now we're getting to slightly warmer shades. Love. This is like a champagne. Oh, you're not going to be able to see it. Oh, well, you can maybe see it. I can't see it. Right there. Now you can see it. I did a better swatch. This is a champagne, but almost with a cream undertone to it. It's got that peachy undertone, but kind of a creamy peach. So it's like champagne peach cream. Sunrise I have on my eyes. This right here is copper with a slight sheen, and what I did here is I put that in the inner corner of my eyes, and then I also did it right in here, lining. The next one is another one that I have on called Sunset. That right there is just a really reddish orange, and this also has a sheen to it. These are warmer colors. I'm not so sure, honestly, these past two, how great the past two would look on someone with a super cool complexion. I'm lucky that I can get away with both cool and warm colors, although not super cool. This I put in the outer crease right there. I mean the outer lid, I'm sorry. Right there. And on blue eyes, stunning. I can see it also on green and brown, but these two, like I said, they're really warm. Now the next one is a little bit cooler, all heart, and this is a pinky brown. It's still a warmer pinky brown, but adding that little bit of a pink tone when I was wearing it, I really had to watch the other colors that I wore on my face to make sure that I really kept with those pink tones, because anything else just did not work at all. Java. This is a really great brown. And this is one of those that I feel can be used either with the darker, the more cool tones or the darker tones. It seems, I keep doing dark and light, the cool or warmer eyeshadows. To me, it really veers into the warm category, but this is something that I can see with those cooler taupes also just being absolutely stunning. But it is a warmer brown. And the last one of the matte shades is Iconic. This is a really great gray, and I see a little bit of, I don't know, it's almost like a gray with a brown undertone, if that makes sense. And we'll do the transforming shade one more time over this. So you can see it lightens it up, it adds a little bit of shimmer. I actually prefer this palette without the transforming shade, honestly. It's a super great highlighter, and I was just going to put a little bit on camera like this so you can see. I really like it as a highlighter. Maybe it's just that I like mattes so much there's no point to me in transforming them, but if you want to take them and transform them into a not so matte anymore, then you do have this great, beautiful kind of sheer white that has that pearl finish to it. Really pretty. So overall, I'm trying to keep my reviews within a certain amount of time period. I really like this. The colors just had an intensity and pigmentation, and they're soft, but not at all chalky on me, and I have dry skin. Not at all chalky. They just either go on so beautifully and perfectly, or they blend if that's what you really want to get out of them. So the brushes I use a big brush like this just to really easily tap on, and since they're so pigmented I didn't need a lot. I use this as a liner, and you can see I just got this great line without even having to use a wet eyeshadow. And then I also use this eyeliner up on the top like this, and you can see how pigmented it is on my eyes. So to sum it up, I wasn't planning to do a video, and I'm not so sure this is my slickest video yet. What I liked was the fact that it had cool and dark shades both. I like the fact that it's matte, but not like a dull, dead, flat matte. Some of them are a little bit sheen, almost matte, and that made my eyes come alive. I've tried all these colors on, and I didn't find one that wasn't flattering on me. That doesn't mean it will work for everyone. Someone that's too cool toned, not all these shades might work. And actually someone who's too warm toned, not all these shades might work. If you're in that middle bracket of most of us that veers one way or the other, it'll probably work. They last beautifully. These wore about 8+ hours without a primer, and then with a primer they lasted a lot longer, 10, 12. At 12 hours I usually take my makeup off, so I just don't like makeup at night or when I go to sleep. And then I like the range of shades. It's hard to find a palette that can differentiate itself, but this one actually did, because it had that transforming shade, but then also because it had some really cool and really warm colors. It didn't just kind of play it safe, it took some risks. And I like the idea that it put a black and a navy in here, because that's the kind of thing that just like, wow, it sets the palette apart, and it's not just too boringly neutral. So you can do these amazing smoky eyes, or you can just do really natural eyes. And I think that's it. Occasionally I feel like I didn't do a good video, so if you have comments on how I could have done this video better, what I missed, let me know. Please subscribe on YouTube. And then I also have a novel on YouTube, chapter by chapter, called Masks, which talks about makeup and the masks we wear. And I guess the other thing I should say about this palette is that I did not need an eyeshadow primer to get the full range of colors out of these. They are so pigmented and apply so beautifully that they're perfect. Thanks.